Have you ever felt like your house was alive? Like the walls were watching you, listening to your every move? For Sarah, that feeling became all too real. And by the time she realized the truth, it was already too late. Sarah was excited to unpack her boxes in her new apartment. It was old, with creaky floors and strange, intricate carvings on the walls. Finally, a place of my own, she said to herself. Sure, it's a bit creepy, but it's cheap. And it's not like I believe in ghosts or anything. She laughed nervously, but the carvings on the wall seemed to shift slightly when she wasn't looking. That night, as Sarah slept, the room was silent, except for the faint sound of whispering. "Sarah, wake up," the whisper said, barely audible. Sarah stirred but didn't wake. The whispering grew louder, more urgent. Suddenly her eyes snapped open. She sat up, breathing heavily, and looked around the room. The whispering stopped. The next day at work, Sarah looked tired. Her co-worker, Mark, noticed. "Rough night? You look like you've seen a ghost," he joked. "Just weird dreams. My new place is different. The walls have these strange carvings." "They're kind of unsettling," Sarah replied, forcing a smile. "Maybe it's haunted. You should burn some sage or something," Mark teased. Sarah laughed, but her smile faded as she remembered the whispers. Back at the apartment, Sarah examined the carvings on the wall. She ran her fingers over them, and for a moment they felt warm to the touch. She pulled her hand back, startled. "What the hell is wrong with this place?" she muttered to herself. She decided to research the building. Late at night, she found an old newspaper article on her laptop. The headline read, "Local artist disappears without a trace." The article mentioned that the artist lived in her apartment and was known for his living carvings. "The carvings are said to be so lifelike, they almost seem to move." "Great. Just great," Sarah read aloud. That night the whispering returned. This time it was louder, more insistent. Sarah covered her ears, but the sound seemed to come from inside her head. "Sarah, let us in!" She got out of bed and stumbled into the living room. The carvings on the walls were glowing faintly, and the whispers were coming from them. She backed away, terrified. "Leave me alone!" she screamed. Suddenly the whispers stopped. The room fell silent. Sarah collapsed to the floor, shaking. The next morning, Sarah was packing her things, determined to leave. As she was about to walk out the door, she heard a faint, familiar voice. "Sarah, don't go." She froze. The voice sounded like her mother, who passed away years ago. Tears welled up in her eyes. "Mum," she whispered. The carvings on the wall began to shift and twist, forming a face, her mother's face. It smiled at her. "Stay with me, Sarah. I've missed you so much," the whisper said in her mother's voice. Sarah took a step closer, mesmerized. But then the face changed, twisting into something grotesque and inhuman. The whispers turned into a deafening roar. "Let us in!" Sarah tried to run, but the walls seemed to close in around her. The carvings came to life, reaching out like hands, pulling her toward the wall. She screamed as she was dragged into the wall, her body merging with the carvings. The room fell silent. The camera panned across the now empty apartment. The carvings on the wall had changed. Among them was a new figure, a woman, her face frozen in a scream. The whispering started again, faint but unmistakable. Next, "Be careful where you live. Sometimes the walls aren't just walls. Sometimes they're waiting for you."